What's up, you guys? Josh Tongla here. Today, I want to talk about the issue of importance and how there's a causal link between your projections and the problems you experience. And I'll be continuing my series on reality transurfing, and so I highly recommend you watch my previous video on the law of balance so you can get a little more context. Because once you become more aware of this connection that I'll be talking about, then by the end of this, you'll finally learn how to reestablish a state of balance, which will lessen the problems in your life. And you can learn more about this from Vadim Zeland's book called Reality Transurfing. You see, the problem is that a lot of people don't realize, surprisingly, that your struggles and challenges that come into your life is simply because you're giving something way too much importance, too much meaning to like an object or to an event that exists inside or outside of yourself. Vadim calls this excess potential. And as I mentioned in my last video, you got to remember that everything in life strives towards balance. Right? Everything in nature. And since everything has an energetic foundation, whenever you screw up that balance with our thoughts and with our actions, guess what happens? Balance forces come into play to correct the imbalance to a place of equilibrium. And this comes in the form of things like problems and difficulties in our lives. And we've all experienced this at one time or another where we ended up getting the exact opposite of what we expected. You know what I'm saying? Where it sometimes felt like the whole world was against us, or that God or the universe was testing us with a bunch of trials or punishing us for something we did. But think about this for a moment. Vadim says that on an energetic level, listen, everything is pretty much neutral. It's neither good nor bad, but that it's us who project and attribute great meaning and importance onto things. Take kids, for example. He says there could be children playing happily on a beach, splashing around and having fun in the water. Yet they don't think about whether they're good or bad, or whether the water is good or bad, or even if other kids are good or bad. Now, dude, they're just simply happy and in harmony with nature. And here's the thing, we all came into the world like that, as a child of nature. And if you maintain a state of harmony with nature, he says, well then, you can get the best things that life has to offer. But as soon as you start projecting importance onto certain things, on anything, you better be ready, dude, because that's when problems will start coming your way. And since people fail to see the connection between the two, they start thinking that the world's some sort of hostile place where it's always really, really hard to get what you want. But the fact of the matter is, you guys, according to Vadim, the only obstacle that can stop your desires from being fulfilled is what? Simply the projection of artificial importance, plain and simple. And so pay attention to what's going on inside. Because he says that all unbalanced feelings and reactions, such as dissatisfaction, anxiety, worry, fear, depression, remorse, admiration, lust, worship, disappointment, pride, resentment, etc., are all manifestations of importance in one form or another. So then, what the heck are you supposed to do whenever you find yourself in those kind of states? I'm glad you asked. Here's what you do. You got to get this, folks. You simply reduce the level of importance you place onto things, straight up. Because when you do that, peep this, you'll immediately reestablish a state of balance to where, he says, the best possible solution to any problem will just come to you. Like those times when you had a problem you were worried about, but then when you just relaxed and chilled for a bit, then boom, what happened? The solution just came to you effortlessly. And that's why he says, you ready? Problems don't actually exist, and that the quote-unquote problems are just an illusion. You guys, for real, they're just an artificially inflated evaluation of the importance of things. That's it. All right, let's break this down even more. Vadim says that there are two types of importance that exist. There's what you call inner importance, and there's also a form of outer importance. Inner or personal importance is when you overestimate your own virtues or your shortcomings. It goes both ways. For example, let's say you think you're all that, right? You're a big shot, and you're like, I'm a very important person, or I do really important work. Okay, but then excess potential is created. There's an imbalance now. So what's going to happen? In Vadim's words, balance forces will get involved, and the hotshot will get a disappointing slap. Boom, piece of humble pie. And then they'll find out that their work is either not needed at all or that it's done badly. However, that being said, being all cocky, thinking you're better and more important than everyone else, yo, that's just one side of the coin, he says. Because on the other side is doing just the opposite, where there's excessive modesty and self-deprecation, being super critical of yourself. That ain't good either. Why? Because it's still the same amount of excess potential, just in the negative sense. You still with me? Now, as for outer importance, it's when you attribute huge meaning to an object or to an event that's taking place in the outer world, where you're like, such and such means a lot to me, or doing such and such is really important to me. And when you do that, it creates what? Once again, excess potential, and things are going to start going wrong from there. Trust me. And an example he gives is this. Imagine that you got to walk along a plank lying on the ground. Cool, no big deal. But now, imagine that you're forced to walk along the same plank, but this time it's placed between the roofs of two high buildings. Remember, it's the same plank though. Now, all of a sudden, you've increased the importance of walking along the plank. Why? Because you don't want to fall off and stink and die, right? But then excess potential is created. Question, in that situation, what can you do to reduce or eliminate outer importance? What comes to your mind? Have a safety net. Have a plan B. Because then you'll be able to reduce the level of importance at least to some degree. See, you don't want to place everything on one side of the scales, he says. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, no matter how safe the basket looks. There's got to be some kind of counterbalance or alternative plan that you have in place to neutralize things energetically. And so, just to be practical now, in your everyday life, instead of battling with balanced forces, which you obviously can't win, you want to ask yourself, what might serve as a safety net for you in your current situation? What would be your plan B? Or another way to approach it would be to accept the possibility of defeat from the very beginning. Like, let's say you have a goal in mind, like a business. Would you be willing to accept the possibility of you failing? That you'd still be okay even if it doesn't work out? Or if there's a person you like and things don't turn out exactly the way you want it to go? Or would these things be so important to you where you'd be like, no, it has to work out a certain way or I'm freaking screwed? Excess potential. Look, don't misunderstand this. He's not saying that you can't get what you want, okay? Then what would be the whole point of learning all this stuff, right? He's saying to have a plan B or to accept the possibility of defeat just to help you reduce the level of importance that you projected onto something, which will then in turn allow you to actually get what you want. You see the magic there? Now, if it's all about sustaining balance in our lives, okay, but then what about your feelings? How does that work out? Vadim says don't suppress your emotions. Don't battle with your feelings. It's pointless, whether it be fear or excitement. So he's not suggesting you be freaking heartless, okay? Don't numb yourselves for goodness sake. In fact, don't even reduce the intensity of the emotions you experience. Because if you're struggling to stay calm on the outside while everything is bubbling over on the inside, then it just creates more and more excess potential. It'll backfire on you. And an example he gives is this. Let's say someone in his family just had a baby, or a relative passed away, or there was a wedding, or some other significant event. Would any of these events be important to him? Vadim says no. But, and listen closely, neither is he indifferent to them. Neither is he indifferent to them. See the difference? In the sense that he won't make a problem out of the event or torture himself and those around him by driving them crazy with his emotional response. And same goes for compassion. Yeah, it can be helpful for those who truly need it, but once again, you still gotta observe how much importance you give to it. Is this making sense? Alright, real talk now. As you're listening to this, you might be having a bunch of stuff going on in your life at this time, like certain challenges and problems, because you've been placing too much importance on things. Whether it be with money, maybe you've accumulated a lot of debt, or with your health, you're just constantly getting sick, or with relationships, or lack of. Whatever your situation is, take a step back and determine where you might have gone too far or become obsessed with it, either positive or negative. And then, Vadim says, before you start looking for a solution to the problem, just follow one golden rule. First things first, reduce the level of importance you're giving to it. Take it down a couple notches. You know what I'm saying? Have a safety net of some kind. Have a plan B. Be willing to accept the possibility of defeat. Not because you will fail for sure, but just to decrease the level of importance. That way, balanced forces won't get in the way. You got a payment due or some quote unquote big event coming up in a couple days? Treat it like any other day, in the sense of just playing it cool. Relax, let things flow. Don't worry about it. Seriously, don't worry about it, because worrying only magnifies the level of importance. Just believe that no matter what happens, you're still going to be okay. For real. As for self-perception, don't get a big head, but don't think so little of yourself either. All things in moderation, folks. And look, if you want something, it's all good, dude. You have your desires. I get that. Okay, determine the meaning something has for you and then let it go. Don't make a big deal about it. Because when you're vibrating in resonant harmony with the rest of the world, he says, it energizes you. And then check this out, you'll achieve your goals without any particular effort because you get what you believe. Yeah. Alrighty guys, just a heads up, I'll be starting something new for you that I think will really help build this community we got going on here, where we'll be able to connect and get to know each other even more. And I'll be opening it up in the near future, so be on the lookout for that. And yo, if you enjoyed this, please do me a favor, like and share it. Or if you're listening via podcast, I'd really appreciate a review. It gets more people to discover my work and of course help spread this message. And I'd love to hear your experiences or questions in the comments below. Hit that subscribe button and the bell right next to it to be notified of my next video. I pump these out every single week, so you don't want to miss them. And don't forget to register for my free online training where I dive deeper into how you can start manifesting the life you really want right now. So check it out. The link's in the description. Like I always say, more's coming. Till next time, I'm out. Peace.